Any business major or industry professional who has worked in the field will tell you that unless you have a pipeline of clients coming in, pretty soon you'll run out of people to work with, and then your business will die. But the same thing is true of the collegiate environment. Without a steady stream of students entering into your program, you will find that the students currently in your program will begin to lose interest as they have no one in the classes below to discuss new trends with. But more importantly, you'll find that your school may have to cut back on programs, they may have to cut back on hours, and they may find that something more drastic could occur, like layoffs. In an earlier podcast, and I'll put the link in the doobly-doo below, we found that many of the students coming in from our programs came from some predictable sources. We put together a general profile for those people. In this segment, I urge you to take a closer look at where your students are actually coming from. And this is something that may take a little bit of time. So what I would like you to do first is I would like you to look at the graduates from your program. And why don't you go back something like 4 or 5 years? Don't get me wrong, if you have something like mathematics where you are going back 4 or 5 years, but 4 or 5 years is 2,000, 3,000 students, this may be too difficult. Find a smaller timeline. On the other hand, if you have a very small program, for instance, I am in advertising and graphic design, and we only graduate about 50 students in a semester. Go back and have a look at those individuals. Find out if you can create a profile. Go by name, go by where they came from. Many of these will probably come from high schools. A good deal of these will come from professional businesses or lateral entry. That is, they will be older than the age of, let's just say 19 when they came in. Some of these may be on the GI Bill, and former veterans or individuals fresh from the Army. Or you may find that they are coming from the workplace. They're a 50-plus student. So put together a profile of each of your graduates and start marking out where they're coming from. Are your base that is graduating coming mainly from high schools? Are they coming mainly from the professional workforce? Are they coming mainly from the GI Bill? Where are these individuals coming from? Then, now this part will be even more complicated, I heavily suggest you step back and look at all the people who have entered your program over the last 5 years. See if you can find from this pool of individuals over the last 5 years who has entered but either dropped out, stopped out, or withdrawn. Can you see what groups they're coming from? Again, you don't have to put names on these. You can use student ID numbers if you need to. It's easy with graduates to put names because graduate students have been with the program long enough that people realize their names, people know who they are more often than not. People will have certain characteristics that they have recognized in these successful candidates who have gone on to graduate. Whereas students who have dropped out or stopped out may have things about them that are not easy to tell. Perhaps they have medical issues or family issues. They may have come to your college from another community college and they found that your program was too rigorous. They may have moved on. They may have been so successful that they simply graduated and moved on with their lives. There are many things along this line that you can possibly bring to bear about this. Look at which classes they've withdrawn from, if they have withdrawn, and find out what it is. This is a great opportunity for you to look at the list of students who have lots and lots and lots of completed hours. They may only have a single class, or maybe 2 or 3 classes, a single semester's worth of work, in which they would need to complete classes to get a degree. Can you imagine how sad you would feel if you came this close to earning a degree, but had to stop? Now, putting together this list of students who dropped out or stopped out from your program can be an immensely powerful tool. Depending on the numbers that you're working with, as many of you could use big data to give you metrics on. I'm just going to stop right there. I literally have only the barest skim of knowledge of how big data can be used with metrics and a great deal of information to show us more about students who are dropping and failing of our program. If you do, please comment in the comments below, because I know you can do it, but that's about all I know. All right, so let's get back on task here. Take a look at the students who are dropping out or stopping out or dropping off the program. How many of them are there? At what point are they dropping out or stopping out? Is it a certain number of credit hours? For instance, if you run a master's degree program, once a student reaches 18 credit hours, in many cases they can get a raise. Do a great deal of students hit the 18 credit hour mark and then drop from the program entirely because they are able to get the raise within their college or their business? If so, are there incentives or things that you can put into place to help students achieve that final degree if that is their goal? Are there students who are meeting a certain age and they're stopping out because maybe they have family or their parents are getting old and they need to be taken care of? Are there individuals who enter your program through the military, but they find that after maybe 1 year of education, something is happening which is stopping them from achieving their goals? If so, looking at this data may give you a better idea about what you can do with your current students, or what characteristics you see in a successful student. Also, we have a video on that. I'll put the link to that in the doobly-doo below. But once you recognize the characteristics of someone who passes, are there ways that you can include those in your classes if you haven't already? If you have, or if you haven't, take a look at the list of students who are dropping out or stopping out or failing or leaving the program. Are there anything that you can see which is binding these students together? And if there is a large contingent which seems to be dropping out or stopping out in the same point, is there a group or a method that you can put together in order to give them what they need to succeed? Now, this may have little to do with the pipeline, but if there is a leak in your pipeline and people are falling out, that is a serious problem, and it's a serious problem that should be noted. Now, getting back on point here, if you're noting that the vast majority of your students are coming from public high schools within one area, first of all, I urge you to hit that area hard. Go ahead and send more pamphlets. Send more meetings with advisors. Have more face-to-face meetings. Perhaps you send a video that can be updated from time to time so students know and understand what is happening. These are all great things to have and bring to bear. Excuse me. These are all great things to have and all great things to bring to bear. Make sure you have those items. Beyond this, are there places where you're not getting students? If there are places where you're not getting students, perhaps that's a place you should start mining for possibilities. Again, if you're already creating materials to hit hard those locations which are giving you big bonuses, why not make those same materials available to the people who aren't hitting big bonuses? Why not make a face-to-face meeting in that area? If what you're finding is that businesses are bringing you most of your students, is there a way that you could produce a cheap mailer which outlines what your program does and how it might be beneficial to professionals who are already working in the field? Perhaps you could do something that involves more online content, more video content, more materials that are based off of night classes so that it can be made available to those individuals. Advertising is a powerful thing, but it is often difficult to tell who is coming to your program with advertising. So you may have to work with your school to make a vanity address. So for instance, we have design.waketech.edu for easier connections for students. Maybe you put one of those together and you watch carefully the metrics of students coming to design.waketech.edu. Now, I know what you may be thinking, which is, don't we have someone at our school who does this for us? Well, do you? And if you do, who is that person? When is the last time you spoke with that person? When is the last time you talked with that person about your department's plan, your division's plan, the school's vision and mission, and how that person can help you to achieve it? Truth be told, many times these recruiters sit in a room with no window, on the phone all day, or doing their own paperwork. They work very, 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 very hard. Occasionally, they get a chance to assist a student who needs help but hasn't had the opportunity to get any help because a teacher is out, an advisor is missing, they don't know who to talk to, or maybe a student poked their head in the office and there they were. Can you imagine how this individual feels? How much nicer would this individual feel if they had a chance to sit down with you to talk about what your program is, your general benefit statement about what your program has to offer, some information about where your students are coming from, some questions about where some students are coming from but they're not quite making it, with some thoughts about how you might advertise, how you might help reach out, how you might create materials that would excite or entice individuals into your program. You're a college. Chances are very high that you are working with some cutting-edge technology. If not, you have practical application of the technology that exists. Someone sitting in a high school with their head resting heavily on their palm can really get excited if they want to work in a field of exciting discoveries instead of doing the same humdrum thing every day like they do in high school. They may not want a career that is boring, and they may find pictures or video of people using those materials to be something exciting and interesting and enticing. So find out who that individual is. Sit down with them. One of the great things I think you could open your conversation with is, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my program. And then you tell them about your program. And then you say, I'd like to know what, if any, plan we have, not you, not the school, not your department within administration, but what is the plan that we have to make a difference? How can we increase the number of people coming into our program? How can I help you to help me? And you might be surprised that once the conversation changes, it changes for the better. Now, I say changes because, just once again, Let's put ourselves in that person's boots. They sit all day in an office. They are more than likely underappreciated. They get hardly any interaction with anyone outside of administration. Few, if any, faculty come by. But they're still expected to bring in individuals. How many programs does your college have? Think very seriously about this. Does your college have 100 different programs? Do they have 60 programs? Does this individual know the best way to think about and advertise? The best way to bring in people from 60 different programs? How many high schools or sources are in your area? It is a great amount. So this person is supposed to know 60 to 100 different programs and degrees, certificates, etc. And he's supposed to know the exact perfect way in which to bring in those individuals, but they are expected to show numbers. When a faculty member walks into their office, chances are going to be likely they're there to make a complaint. Hey, we need more. Why aren't you doing it? But you're going to take the opposite approach. You're going to step in and say, let me tell you the benefits of our program. Let me tell you what a student here will gain by having our degree. Here's a list of where our best students are coming from. Here's a list of places that don't seem to be giving us many students or any students. Is there something that we can do together to increase the number of students coming into our program? As soon as this stops becoming, in their eyes, a pointing finger, laying blame case, and begins to become, can we work together for a better outcome for our program and the school? I am positive that you will find people much more open to making changes, making adjustments, working together, and coming up with solutions that can make a difference. I wore a WordPress shirt today. That's a shame. Oh well, I guess that's what I've got. Much more open to coming up with a working solution. And just remember, those people have ways and means that you and I would never know about. They may have more information about students that have come into your program. There may be activities that they are taking part in that they never would have thought to make the connection between your individual program. Maybe they are like a river to your school. And while they themselves may not know specifically about your program, anyone who comes up that's interested, they will talk with them about the programs that they have. Maybe they'll hand them a pamphlet and encourage them to go. But now that you've made a chance to sit down with that individual, you can give them an opportunity to have some of those talking points. Maybe you can tell them your elevator speech about your particular program. Maybe if they take that to heart, that will help out. Maybe they go to job fairs. Maybe they go to high school meetups. Maybe they go to college days and they find people who are maybe not as excited about the big college and they want something that's a little bit closer, like a small college. To apply this information today, I'm sad to say, you're going to have to start researching. Try to put down a list of names of the graduates that you've had over the last few years. And if you can, write down a list of characteristics that you've seen in those individuals. Then put together a list of all the people that have brought into your program. This may require you to have a meeting with some people in human resources or admissions, but believe me, it can help out in the long run. I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. I hope it's given you some good thoughts. Please comment below if you have any ideas for me. Please share this with people you like, and by all means, absolutely destroy that like button. This is Tyler Dockery saying, by all means, design your future.